Okay, so before I give an index of the talk, let's understand one thing about regulation, which is regulation is a part of sector reforms. So there are several sectors which are government owned, operated and controlled, which are performing below their expectations of people, which include electricity, water, roads, education, health, etc. But I have done italics to education, health compared to the other ones because they are slightly different. What happens is these are sort of competitive sectors. Someone can open a school here, someone can open a school there. Health, you can have two doctors. But electricity, you can't have two electricity companies having parallel lines. Very difficult. You can't have two airports in the same place and say both should compete. It's not economical. As we'll come to this issue. And also, education and health has much more public good nature. Although water, electricity also have that. So there are differences between the sectors. But all these sectors are when they are not performing up to the mark. There is discussion about reforms. And the reform discussion usually goes around on ownership, on regulation, on industry structure. People will discuss about how to make it competitive. Can we make it competitive? So that the regulation, who should do regulation? Should it be independent regulation? What should be ownership, public-private partnership, privatization, so on and so forth. These issues are in a way interlinked. At the same time, what I mean by interlinked is, if there is competitive structure, then regulation might be of a different nature. You might have light-handed regulation. But we should remember not to confuse and not allow others to confuse between those. Second is, point to be noted is, many times policy issues related to these are ignored, although they are very important. Discussion happens about regulation, discussion happens about ownership, not so much about underlying policy. And this we should remember in all this talk. But I am going to concentrate on regulation as a talk. So this is the index of them. What is the need for regulation as per the economic theory? Second is, what is the power sector experience? What was the pre-reform structure? What did World Bank say? How it was modified in India when it was rolled out? The role of regulation was critical in World Bank model, and that actually got expanded all over the country. Which was called State Electricity Regulatory Commissions, the CRCs. And what has been Energy Group's perspective on regulation? We have tried to push for transparency, accountability, participation, with the acronym of TAP, in the regulatory commissions. What have been our advocacy things, what strategies we used, and so on. Okay, so coming to the economic theory first. As we started discussing, there are some sectors are competitive sectors, where entry and exit are easy. You don't have a very large entry barrier. You need to put an airport, you will have a very large investment required, many licenses, entry barriers are large. If you want to open up a pawn shop, entry barriers are very low, and so on. But not just that wide difference, but look at telecom company. It's relatively much easier to have a telecom company than to have a power plant. Investments are much lower in telecom than compared to, let's say, power sector. So you can have two telecom companies competing with each other. Here the role of regulation is limited. It's light-handed regulation. It is basically trying to see that competition actually works, no one takes extra advantage, and so on and so forth. Whereas the other sectors, which are natural monopoly, where competition is not economical. You cannot economically allow people to compete. You can't say, I build two expressways between Chennai and Bangalore and allow them to compete. And there is no differentiation in service. So there, what is required is you need regulation for multiple things. This happens about highways, railways, airport, electricity networks, water pipelines will have the same issues. In fact, groundwater will have even more complicated issues. So regulation here becomes far more intense. It has to, regulator has to assure a return on the investment to whoever is investing by charging it to apply a proper tariff At the same time, make sure that he doesn't apply excessive tariff and extract monopoly rights. So the job of the regulator is on behalf of the society, make sure that citizens are not penalized, neither the investor is penalized and the investment comes in. Not just investment comes in, but investment is appropriately done. Because someone can just gold plate the whole thing, just increase the cost and then start charging that price to people. So it is a regulator's job to make sure that that doesn't happen on behalf of the society, on behalf of consumers. So regulation is supposed to control the investment, quality of investment, service quality also. It needs to regulate what should be the service quality. So the regulator was installed to control the prices that it was charged. But then it was extended quickly to other things such as electricity, railway lines and so on and so forth. And usually it is perceived fairly, I wouldn't say wrongly, that regulation is a precursor to privatization. So people felt that regulation effectively becomes a tight control. And we used to call regulator the king of the sector. In a way, it controls everything. What investment you should do, can check quality of the investment, timing of investment, how much return you are going to get on the investment, what service quality you have to deliver. So the utility is, in a way, fairly can be a slave to the regulator, in a way. Practically, things can be different as we will come to. So people felt that if regulation is not being very effective, then can we try and change the structure so that we bring in competitive elements into that. These attempts were done in electricity in a big way. It started in 1980s in UK, Chile, US, European Union and so on. What they tried to do was, electricity center consists of 4 parts. Generation, which is similar to dams, supply, transmission, which is similar to large pipelines, and distribution lines, wires, which is distribution lines. And finally the service, suppliers. What I mean by suppliers is metering, billing, and those kind of last mile. Those two things, generation and suppliers, could become competitive. The other two remained natural. So this was attempted in a big way. There was large discussion about electricity markets, and the results have been mixed. There have been now 20 years of experience of that. And results have been, it's been far more complicated than it was thought. More serious problems in developing countries, and markets were highly volatile. Because the concept in the market is, if price there's shortfall in supply, then the prices go up, new entrants come in. But here, new entrants take huge amount of time. Build a power plant takes 4 years. And it's an essential service, so prices can go in a spike. And this volatility was so huge that California state had a near collapse. State itself was facing a collapse because of misdeeds of Enron and some other companies. Few companies literally made sure that the transmission was created a bottleneck, and they created shortage at the consumer side, and they manipulated the market to have enormous effect, and the prices could not come down. You could not even build transmission lines. So it was not just market manipulation, but even when market is operating properly, it takes too much time to build a new thing. Price volatility is large. Investor is very risk averse. So investor doesn't want to put in a new power plant if the prices are coming down. So it wants price signal for a very long time to be able to invest. So people started realizing that, look, there can be some success, but there is importance of regulation. And so sort of we have gone too far on that in the international level. It came back. An Indian model is a mixed model, which allows some amount of competition, but a sizable role to regulate.